A very good afternoon to all of you. Good afternoon, all. Good afternoon, Jai Hind. I hope each one of you are doing great. So, in this session today, now we will be moving on to the next very important topic that is essentially correlated to our society and applicability of our fundamental rights. Okay. Now, in the previous session, we had studied about how marginalization works. We have studied about the role of judiciary. We have studied about the role of legislature. Now, in this session today, we will talk about how governance works. How governance is closely correlated with the facilities that are to be made available to every citizen in this country. Clear? So, a very good afternoon to all of you. I hope each one of you are doing great. So, all of you who have joined me now in this session, I welcome every one of you here. And today, we will be talking about another very important topic. So, in this class 8th NCERT, the topic that we will start today is the chapter 7 public facilities. Now, what does these public facility means? Okay, and why should there be a smooth, a very streamlined availability of public facilities to our citizens? Okay, so first and foremost, the question is that what is a public facility? Okay, so a very good afternoon to all of you. And today in this session, we will see a combination, a correlation of how the ground reality has to be ensured by the government. And the second most thing is that why the governance finally translates into how good facilities are available to its citizens. Clear? So this is just one parameter to judge, to assess the governance in the country. Now, first and foremost, if we start off with this public governance, now these public facilities, they relate to our basic needs. Okay. And most of you might be thinking that what is the role of the Indian Constitution in delivering public facilities? Okay. So the Indian Constitution, it recognizes variety of things as constituents of human and fundamental rights to its citizens. Okay. Now, right to have a clean potable water is our fundamental right. Now, many of you might be confused that, sir, which article does talks about this? Which article says that having a potable water is our fundamental right? On the other hand, the right to have basic health facilities by the state is also our fundamental right. Right to education is also our fundamental right. And these all public facilities, they constitute, or we can say that these are embedded in our right to life with dignity. So thus, one of the major roles of the government in India is to ensure adequate public facilities for all, okay, for everyone that is part of this country. But the darker side also makes us to understand, makes us to realize that the progress upon delivery of public facility is far from the satisfactory. There is a shortage in supply and there are inequalities in the distribution. If we compare the metros and the large cities to the towns and the villages, we will find that in the metros and town cities, the consumption is much higher. Whereas in the rural areas, they are the places that are under provided. So compared to the wealthy localities, the poor localities are underserviced. And in the wealthy localities, we can see that it is often the people, they are enabled, they are the elites who can pay for the private services. But this is not the answer. If it is the responsibility of the government to provide us potable water, and we have to spend to get the potable water, then this is not the solution, but this is on some hand highlights the failure of the government. So any solution that is needed to take account of these facilities should be provided, and the delivery of these facilities must be provided in an equitable manner. It is the individuals, it is the humans that must be quantified, and it should not be the area, it should not be the wealthy or a poor area. So this is what public facilities they demand from us. This is what public facilities they demand from the government. Clear? So public facilities are the services that basically benefit the people simultaneously and are often provided by the government. Now, these public facilities cannot be compared with the private goods. The private goods are something that can be excluded. Okay, they are basically rivalrous. Okay, so private goods are those that it depends upon the consumption per person to person. So public facilities they typically exhibit the characteristics that makes private provision inefficient or inequitable. Okay, so if we have to classify the public facilities, those public facilities, they are not excludable. Okay, they are non-rivalrous, they have high social benefit. Okay, and must be equitably available to all and must be accessed by all. So we can see that these public facilities, they include water supply, they include sanitation, they essentially include other robust facilities that we can see, like the healthcare, the education, the electricity, the public transport, okay, availability of public roads, public parks. Okay, so in this session, we would talk about some very prominent public facilities like the availability of water, the right sanitation, healthcare, and education, as they are crucial because they have a direct impact upon the society, they have direct impact upon the quality of life of the people, and they directly affect the development of the humans. Clear? So in this session we would be talking about these public facilities and also why are the public facilities so important. Clear? So before starting off with this, okay, the question is why public facilities are important. Now, this is the biggest question that is before us. Okay. Now, one thing I have told you that these public facilities, they are not something which are alien to the Indian Constitution. They all constitute Article 21 of the Constitution. Clear? So, Supreme Court has very exclusively, it has expanded the scope of Article 21. Now, this Article 21, it includes the right to potable water, right to health, right to education, and right to live with human dignity. So, access to public facilities is seen as a prerequisite for the enjoyment of these rights in the country. Okay. Now, these public facilities, they are also important for human development. Okay, now these public facilities, if an individual has an access to potable water, sanitation, and healthcare, it would directly impact the health of an individual, the mortality rates of the individuals. Okay, so in the society, this has direct correlation. Okay, now this would also contribute for poverty alleviation. Okay, so by providing these essential services at affordable or at no cost, these public facilities, they act as safety net for the individuals. Okay, they reduce the financial burden on the vulnerable sections of the society, and it would also help them to come out of the poverty. Okay, just imagine that if an individual, if the vulnerable sections of the society, they have to spend money to gain these public facilities, then this essentially is a failure of governance. Okay, and finally, it would contribute to the social inclusion. Okay, these public facilities, they ensure that even the poorest sections of the society, they have access to basic necessities. It would bridge the gap between the rich and the poor, and it would foster equitability in the society. Okay, moreover, this essentially would contribute to the economic growth of the people. Okay, and finally, we have seen that this would also ensure gender balance in the society. Clear? So, in all of these things, the government plays an important role in providing public facility to its citizens. Okay. Moreover, if these public facilities are not equitably available, okay, if these public facilities are not equitably available, then how can we say that democracy is available in the real sense? Clear? So the government's primary responsibility for providing public facilities, it rests with the government, and it does come out from the several factors. Clear? Okay. Vlograj, civilization. No, civilization is a broader concept. Civilization is something which is different. Okay. So these are just components, okay, of people's right to life. Clear? Now, when we move ahead, okay, now this example, this topic gives us various examples, okay, and example of Chennai has been very exclusively taken. Okay, now we have seen the issues of water supply and the people of Chennai. Okay, so it is in this area, okay, the topic, it gives a very good example of a government official, okay, who is living in this area. Now, the area in which the government officials live, they are the ones who are basically available to gain access to everything. Okay, the area wherein the government officials have been living, the area is lush, green, lawns, okay, and every resource is generously available. Clear? Now, the bungalows which are there, they have their tap water for majority of the day. Okay, and even if the public facilities are not available, then the people are able to gain access to through private features. Okay, the individuals, okay, they can easily afford getting water tanks, or they can easily afford getting these services through private players. But okay, now in this area we have seen wherein the abled are living. Okay, they are able to gain access to the facilities by any means because they can afford them. Okay, now in this area we have seen that there are a few regions. Okay, so this disparity, this discrimination, this diversity is widely available in across all the cities. Okay, few areas they get better facilities, few areas do not get better facilities. Okay, now, in the areas wherein the facilities are not available, or we can say that the resources are scarcely available, the people do not have that much money that they can afford upon gaining access to public facilities. Clear? So we have seen that it is in this area the people, they have to heavily rely upon limited resources which are available. Okay, now if I give you an example, okay, you might have seen a posh locality, you might have seen an area like a chawl wherein people are gaining access and there are the resources are scantily available. Okay, now if we take a very simple example, okay, we have seen that water is essential for life and also for good health. Okay, and it is not just that water is required for meeting our basic needs, but safe drinking water is also important to prevent people from many water related diseases. Okay, now a country like India that has the largest number of cases of diarrhea, dysentery, cholera, and it is said that over 1600 Indians, most of them children below the age of 5, they reportedly die every day because of waterborne diseases. Now these deaths, they can be prevented if people have access to safe drinking water. Okay, now the Constitution of India, okay, the Constitution of India recognizes right to water as being part of the right to life under Article 21. It means that it is the right of every person, whether rich or poor, to have sufficient amount of water to fulfill his or her daily needs at a price that he or she can afford. In other words, there should be universal access to water. Clear? So universal access to water is something that is made available. Okay. Acha, now you just remember that this is something which is our fundamental right. Okay, but still there have been several court cases wherein the Supreme Court as well as the high courts have to interfere to ensure that the right to safe drinking water should be made available to the people, and it constitutes parts of the fundamental right. Okay, it was in 2007 that the Andhra Pradesh High Court had restated that while hearing a case, the Andhra Pradesh High Court had restated that the fundamental right to have clean water is to be made available to the people. Okay, it was upon the complaint of the villagers that a textile company was discharging poisonous chemicals into a stream near their village. Okay, now this was something that was contaminating the groundwater, and this groundwater was the primary source for irrigation and drinking water. Now, it was after this that the Andhra Pradesh High Court had directed the district magistrate to supply 25 liters of water to every person that was in the village. Okay, so if we talk about the public facilities like water, okay, water is just one facility which is essential to the survival of the people. Like water, there are other facilities that need to be provided for everyone. Okay, now we have seen that along with water, there are facilities like the healthcare, sanitation, and it is essentially there are facilities like electricity, public transport, school, colleges, which must also be made available to the people. Now, the important characteristic of the public facility is that once it is provided, its benefits can be shared by many people. So, if we take an example, a school or a village will enable many children to get educated. Similarly, the supply of electricity to an area can be useful for many people. Farmers can use it. Okay, people can take up small workshops, people can take up small jobs. The students can study easily, and it is through these public facilities that people will have a better quality of life available to them. Okay, now the question comes up is that whenever these public facilities are to be made available, it is the government's role which is very important in this. Okay, now government plays a very important role in this. Okay, these public facilities, they are so important that someone must carry the responsibility of providing these to the people. Okay, now when we say that someone has to take up the responsibility to provide these facilities to the people, then this someone is the government. Okay, and one of the most important function of the government is to ensure that these facilities are made available to the people. Okay, now bigger question is that if we try to understand that why the government must bear this responsibility, then this is again a very relevant question that comes to our mind. Okay, we have seen that private companies, they are mainly operating for profit. Okay, and if private companies are working for profit in public facilities, it is more of consumption and less of profit. Okay, or essentially there is no profit. So for if we have to take an example, okay, if a company has to maintain the drains clean, if somebody has to run an anti-malaria campaign, if somebody has to clean the roads, then what profit will they make? Okay, and this is the reason why private companies, they are not interested in taking such works. Okay, but for other public facilities such as schools and hospitals, private facilities are interested. Okay, we have seen this as an example in larger cities. Okay, if you are living in a city, you will see many private companies supplying water tankers, supplying drinking waters in sealed bottles. Okay, but private companies, they provide public facilities, but at a price that only a few can afford. Okay, so if we have to go by the rule book, okay, the people will get as much as they can pay for the facilities. Okay, and many people who cannot afford to pay for such facilities will be deprived of the opportunities. And if we talk about deprivation of the opportunities, it is like that we are depriving the individuals from a decent way of living. Okay, so this is something which is not a desirable option. Public facilities, they relate to basic needs of the people. In this modern society, it is the urgent need that public facilities are provided so that people's basic needs are met. Okay, the right to life that our constitution is guaranteeing, it is for all persons living in the country, and it is not for the ones who can afford it. Clear? So the responsibility for providing public facilities must lie with the government only. Okay, now a bigger question comes up is that from where does the government get this money? Okay, from where does this government get money? How the government can ensure these monies? Clear? So we have to understand that source of government money or the government funding is primarily something that has been contributed by us, okay, in the form of taxes. Okay, the government, how government is able to provide these facilities? Because government has been charging us. Okay, government has been giving us fees, we are paying fees. Okay, all of you are paying house tax, you are paying municipal taxes. Okay, moreover, the government also undertakes borrowings. Okay, moreover, there are various grant and aid help that is given. So we need to understand one thing, that despite the constitutional mandate, the government provides all of these things. Okay, you might have seen the proceedings going on in the budget. Okay, in budget the minister is talking about these, how money is coming. Okay, so this is something that has to be made available, and this comes through these things. Clear? So in this chapter, we have seen that variety of the government funding is something that funds all the public facilities. Clear? Now, in this topic, NCERT usually, it often takes the example of water supply in Chennai to illustrate the disparities. Okay. Now, in Chennai, there are some areas that have consistent water supply. Okay. Moreover, there are a few areas like the slums and the lower income localities which rely upon the private tankers or the bore wells. Okay, and people often end up paying exorbitant prices. Okay, so the government, in order to take up these challenges, government has taken up various initiatives. Okay, the government has come up with various missions like the Jal Jeevan mission. The government has taken up various programs like the Amrut mission, okay, which focuses on the urban rejuvenation and to improve the water supply, sewage, and the urban transport. Along with it, sanitation. Swachh Bharat Abhiyan has been a flagship program for universal sanitation coverage. Okay, healthcare program, Ayushman Bharat program, National Health Mission, they are being going on. For education, Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan have been going on. Okay, so we can understand one thing, that the country has an essential need for public facilities because it provides a dignified life to its people. Okay, and government plays a very important role because government is the primary provider. Okay, because it is in the situation that for the welfare of the people, it is the government that has to work. Okay, even there have been various challenges in this. There have been various challenges in these provisions: unequal access, funding quality, maintenance, and a lot of things. Okay, but our constitution ensures that all of these things, all of these facilities are made available. Clear? So we can understand one thing, that it providing public facilities is an essential part of a better governance in the country. Okay, and it is not just that the fundamental rights has been doing so. Okay, the Supreme Court, the High Courts have been directing the governments through landmark judgments to ensure that better public facilities and better governance are made available in the country. Clear? So if we talk about the constitution and the judicial framework, okay, if we talk about the constitution and the judicial framework, okay, public facilities like right to life and personal liberty, okay, which has expanded the scope to right to clean water, health, education. Okay, we have seen fundamental rights, article 21, article 21A, they are exclusively made available to ensure that people have better access to the public facilities. Okay, we have got the DPSPs available. Okay, we have got the DPSPs available, and which all DPSPs? We have Article 38. Okay, now this Article 38, it directs the government to secure a social order for the promotion and welfare of the people. Okay, 39 B and C. Okay, it talks about equitable distribution of material resources. Okay, and it also directs the government to prevent concentration of wealth. Okay, then Article 41, right to work. Okay, Article 47, that essentially talks that the state must work towards improving the level of nutrition and standard of living of its people, and also the public health. Clear? So we have seen that these constitutional provisions are ensuring that the government works in the most efficient manner and the governance is provided in the best possible way. Clear? So we have seen that these things have been the benchmarks of better governance in the country. Okay, we have seen that in every state, okay, there have been scenarios of shortages and acute crisis during months. If we talk about water supply, we usually see acute shortages during the summers. Okay, the shortage in municipal water increases. Okay, and it is the time that private companies, they come into play and they complement the shortfalls. Clear? There are also greater inequalities in the water use. Now, just see the irony in the country. Okay, the supply of water per person in an urban area should be 135 liters. Okay, so this is a standard that is set by the Urban Water Commission. Clear? So Urban Water Commission says that in the urban area, the water supply should be around 135 liters. So 135 liters are somewhere around 7 to 8 buckets of water. Okay. Now, in the people living in the slums, okay, they are barely able to gain access to 20 liters of water a day. That is just a bucket. Clear? Moreover, if you just see a luxury hotel working, okay, in a luxury hotel, a single individual has been consuming around 1600 liters of water, around 80, 90 buckets of water. So this shortage of municipal water is essentially taken as a sign of failure of the government. Okay, you will find many people arguing that since the government is unable to supply the amount of water that is needed, and water departments, the municipal water departments are running at a loss, then there must be private companies which must be allowed to supply the water. Okay, people have this notion, people have this perception that private companies, they work better. Okay, but if we consider few things throughout the world, water supply is a responsibility of the government. Okay, and we cannot, just in order to gain better services, we cannot shrug off responsibility from the government. Clear? There are areas in the world where public water supply has achieved the universal accesses. Okay, there have been a few areas where the responsibility of water supply had been handed to private companies. Okay, which ultimately resulted in the steep rise of water. Okay, and it was something that a basic amenity like water became unaffordable. Okay, within India, there are various cases of success in government water departments. Okay, there have been a few numbers which are limited to the certain area of the work. Okay, now water supply departments in the Mumbai, as the case study has taken up in this topic, the water supply department in Mumbai raises enough money through water charges to cover the expenses on supplying water. Whereas in Hyderabad, the reports have shown that the department has increased coverage and improved performance in the revenue collection. The examples have been shown in Chennai. The department has taken up several initiatives for rainwater harvesting to increase the groundwater level. Okay, so essentially we can see that private companies have been used for supplying water, for transporting water, for distributing the water, but government water supply departments are the ones that decide the rate of the water tankers, and they are the ones that are permitting them to operate. Clear? So by and large, we cannot shrug off the responsibility from the government. The government cannot say that since they have not been able to meet up to the demands of the people, it is thus that it must be delegated onto the private companies. Clear? So this is what we need to understand, and we need to correlate this better governance with essentially the responsibility of the government available. Clear? Chaliye. So these essentially have been a few things that are being highlighted by this topic. Okay. Along with this, do join me in my Telegram channel. Do scan this QR code directly so that you can gain access to my Telegram channel. And do not forget to avail the benefits of the Guru Kripa offer. Now, this offer gives you 50% off and double validity, and gives you the opportunity to be mentored by the rankers. Okay, you just have to use this code SRM Live to avail maximum discount and benefits of this offer. Okay, remember that all of our courses are running on the smart model. Okay, the evening English batches are also available for 2027 and 28 preparations. Okay, so this sale is live. This is for limited period. Do use this code SRM Live to avail maximum discounts. Clear? Chaliye. So thank you all for joining me in this session. I hope all of you would have been benefited out of it. I hope all of you would have been able to understand the gist of these topics. Clear? So this was all from my side.